What's up, y'all? This is BAIR, and this is the Bar Exam, where we examine some of the best bars and verses in hip-hop history. On today's episode, we'll be examining Beanie Sigel's classic debut verse on the song Reservoir Dogs, which was on Jay-Z's Volume 2 Hard Knock Life album, which came out in 1998. Pressure busts pipes. It's time to apply it now. Pick out a quiet town and tie it down. Make niggas lock it down. Y'all know where to buy it now. Beanie Mac, I supply it now. My squad roll deep in foreign cars with 2 seats. Couple of 5s, a 6, a few Jeeps. Bagging up coke to last a few weeks. Case niggas want to test. Vest in a few heats. You really want to test my name and test my game? Till you have me, test my aim. Y'all niggas nuts like testicles. Hit you up in your apartment building vestibule. Perhaps it's best for you to keep on walking. Heat from the larkin, keep on sparking. Platinum, Prezi, Bezzy, stay sparkling. Cop off the lot, never see me at the auction. Pint of Bacardi, darkin' when it's hawking. Out on the strip until I reach the margin. Not trying to meet the sergeant at the precinct. Eating cheese sandwiches down for the weekend. Locked up with dirty white boys and reeking. Okay, so before we break down the verse, I think it's very important to highlight just how essential Beanie Sigel is to hip-hop history. Just how important this debut verse was to hip-hop history. Beans is coming out of Philly. Philly at that time was really known for just a handful of rappers on the big stage. In the 80s, you had Schoolie D, you had Cool C, you had Steady B, and of course you had the Fresh Prince. In the 90s, early 90s, you had Black Thought of the Roots. All of those very dope artists in their own right. Of course, Black Thought, arguably the greatest MC and lyricist of all time. You can make a case for him. Of course, the Fresh Prince, dope MC, great crossover hip-hop artist. But none of them brought the street element along with the MCing before Beanie Sigel. Now, after Beanie Sigel, once he kicks that door down, you get everything from State Property to Cassidy to Too Raw for the Streets and Big Star. Shout out to him, introducing us to a lot of dope street MCs. And of course, you get a guy by the name of Meek Mill, who took it out of the stratosphere. Okay, so let's set the stage. In hindsight now, we know Beanie Sigel is one of the greatest MCs of all time. But back then, he was just an unknown dude from Philly. And you gotta figure, this will go on to be arguably the greatest cipher track in hip-hop history. So Beans had to prove himself before even getting in the booth when he first met the Locks.
When we get there, Siegel's in there. He just makes Sig rhyme for us. As soon as everybody do the introduction, yo, what's up, man? This is Beanie Sigel, and rhyme. Sig is dumping. The whole keep going. Keep going. And we like, this nigga's nice, ho. He nice. Then he make him stop, then he pull up the beat. Eric Sermon did the beat, and then we I think me, Sheik, and Sigel laid. Then Styles came back the next day, and him and Hov laid. They did their part after that.
Okay, Reservoir Dogs. Arguably the greatest posse cipher track in hip-hop history. At some point, we'll probably break down every verse on the Bar Exam. But what I love about Beanie's verse is the technical skill, the technical aspect of rhyming. It's not the most conscious, deep, thought-provoking verse, if you will, but he's giving you bars, and he's giving them in such a way that captivates you from the opening line to the closing word. He starts out with pressure bust pipes. It's time to apply it now. I thought that was kind of cool looking back because applying pressure is like a slang, it's a saying nowadays that people rocking with. And so it's funny how great art, it ages well like wine. So right now people say, oh, apply pressure, you gotta apply pressure. And it's funny, when he said this in 98, pressure bust pipes, it's time to apply it now. I also like the fact that he took that rhyme scheme, the now and the lie rhyme scheme, and applied it for the first 4 bars of the rhyme. So he says, pressure bust pipes, it's time to apply it now. Pick out a quiet town and tie it down. That whole idea came from the 80s and early 90s of moving drugs from major cities such as New York, DC, and LA, where they would hit the smaller towns and cities and set up shop. So that's what he's saying there. Pick out a quiet town and tie it down. Make niggas lock it down. Y'all know where to buy it now. He says, Beanie Mac, I supply it now. Now, that part there is interesting to me because in the verse, he doesn't refer to himself as Beanie Sigel, which is his official name. So similar to Biggie Smalls and Notorious B.I.G. I knew a cat that was from Philly at the time, and we had a class together. We was taking class down the basement. John Scarborough. Shout out to John, man, if you out there. And he used to always be like, Beanie Mac, I'm telling you, man, Beanie Mac. He's always right. I'm like, who the hell is Beanie Mac? I never even heard of it. That's a new joint at McDonald's? What are you talking about? And so when I heard it, I'm like, oh, Beanie Mac. Yeah, Beanie Mac, that dude. So he says, y'all know where to buy it now. And then he says he gets on some fly shit, right? My squad rolled deep. Foreign cars with 2 seats. Couple of 5s, referring to the 500 Benz. A 6, a few Jeeps. So he just stunting now. This is how we roll. This is how my squad is rolling out here. Like, so he's rhyming again. 4 bars, he hit you with that same type of rhyme scheme. Crazy with it. Then he goes on to say, you really want to test my name and test my game till you have me test my aim? Y'all niggas nuts like testicles. And I just like the creativity there because he's using that test. Okay, you want to test my name. You want to test my game until you have me test my aim to see how sharp I am with using my weapon and defending myself and holding down my fort. But then he ties it all together by bringing in the word testicles. He's saying, y'all nuts, y'all crazy. Y'all must be thrown off to want some problems with me. So y'all niggas nuts like testicles. And he emphasizes the word test to tie in to the previous bars where he's using that test word. So that's very dope and very clever by Beanie Sigel. And he goes on to say, hit you up in your apartment building, vestibule. So it's interesting. I love MCs that go outside the norm. Vestibule is referring to like the hallway or the front of the building, right? The foyer, if you will. It can be referred to in that type of manner. But that's not a common word that you would really hear people use really in everyday language, let alone in hip hop throughout somebody's verses. So he's bringing some uniqueness with his rhyming as well to go along with the technical, skillful part that he's doing. All right. So then he says, perhaps it's best for you to keep on walking. Heat from the locking, keep on sparking. Platinum, Prezi, Bezzy, stay sparkling. Now he's stunting on you a little bit more again. He's referring to the platinum, the presidential Rolex, right? But he got the platinum version. So the bezel on it is shining, you know what I mean? Got the diamonds and all that blinging. So he continues on with his stunting by saying, cop off the lot, never see me at the auction. So he's not doing the used car joint, the pre-owned. He getting it brand spanking new, going to the dealership. He copping it right off the lot and peeling off on you in something fresh and fly, which he was referring to earlier in the verse. Then he says, pint of Bacardi Dawkin when it's hawking. So now he got the Bacardi rum for those chilly nights. Everybody, you take a little shot of liquor, you know what I mean? Get that in your system, because he's out there on the block. They out there hustling, doing what they got to do. Got to stay warm out there, right? So you get a little liquor in your system, heats you up a little bit. Then he uses an African-American term that's been passed down through slavery, which is hawking, referring to the hawk. The hawk is coming. That means it's cold, it's windy, it's chilly. It's about to get real frigid out here. So hawk is a slang term. So when he brings that in for when it's hawking, he got the pint of Bacardi Dawkin. So he hits him with out on the strip until I reach the margin. So that, again, he's tying everything in together for you. The Bacardi Dawkin when it's hawking. So he's outside again. Once again, he's outside. He's hustling. He's on the strip. He's on the block. They're doing what they got to do. And he says he's going to stay out there till he reaches the margin. Now, I like this because you can look into this line one of two ways. You can look into it saying the margin, which refers to the end of something, right? You get that in pieces of paper. When you were in grade school, you would learn to write your verses or your lines your sentences until the margin. You wouldn't go over the margin. That was the cutoff point. So he's saying until I reach the margin, as in the limit, or you could look at it as he's saying I reach the profit margin that needs to be met. I like the cleverness that you can really play with that and look at it two different ways with that word there. Then he goes on to say, not trying to meet the sergeant, which means when I hear that, I kind of lean toward the first version of the margin, meaning, okay, we ain't gonna go but so far. We ain't trying to get jammed up. We out here hustling, but one thing I'm not trying to do is get arrested. You know, locked up with dirty white boys and Ricans, eating cheese sandwiches, all that, the nasty food they gonna give you when you in jail. So, all in all, when I look back at this verse, Beanie put his stamp right away on the industry, let him know he was a force to be reckoned with as a dope MC. He brought the cleverness, the wittiness, the uniqueness of a dope MC coming out of Philly. So we salute you, Beans, aka Beanie Mac, for your verse on Reservoir Dogs.
Press your bust pipe, it's time to apply it now. Pick out a quiet town and tie it down. Make niggas lie it down. Y'all know where to buy it now. Beanie Mac, I supply it now. My squad roll deep in foreign cars with 2 seats. Couple of five.
Thanks once again for checking out the Bar Exam. If you liked what you heard, give us a thumbs up. Make sure y'all subscribe as well. Don't forget to hit that notification bell so you know when we drop. Also, leave us a comment. Let us know what you think. Beanie Sigel verse fire or not? Appreciate y'all once again. Long live hip hop.